Oh, sorry. Recording in progress. Okay. I've made Joan smile. It's a teacher term. Struggle bus. We're all riding the struggle bus together. See, trying to get there. Not sure what it's about yet. Sorry. Okay, let me press that advance button. So we're gonna test it out again. There we go. Sorry. Thank you, college. Sorry that stresses her out so much. It's a lot of stress. But thank you very much, Charlotte, for sticking with it. Okay, so this morning we had Haley and I made it over to Rainbow to trim back all of the growth at the demo garden. And you can see in some of the pictures, the bottom one left of our faces, it was quite full. And I brought some of the cuttings of the woolly stomodia in the bags over there, and also the anacacho orchid, and some seeds from the tree as well are over on that table. So I'd like to take a bag with you. But it's doing very, very well. Lee, I did trim the kidney wood and the anacacho, and tutorial words were in my head the entire time. So thank you very much. Looking for all those crossing branches. So who are our new members showing up in the audience today? Anyone here? New members? Any raised hands? Oh, we have one over here. Oh, welcome. New member. Wonderful. Thank you for coming. Returning members would probably be, here. Everyone else. And any special visitors tonight just joining us just for today? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, the Mike fan club. Right, and thank you, Zoom audience, for tuning in. Okay, one quick little announcement. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but there will be some changes coming to the sign-up system for volunteers for the HEB native plant sale. It's in development right now, and it'll be in October. They're going to do it a little bit differently, but it's just make it a lot easier to sign up. So, might make it easier to choose an HEB close as well to be more available. And also the tape will be provided by HEB, so you won't have to haul a tape. Pam knows that's really important. It's a big thing for us. Okay, also of announcements, we have Ruby Montalvo stepping into the role of vice president. Just raise her hand. Where is she? There she is. Okay, there she is. Ruby already does our newsletter, and she attends all of our meetings. And we kind of lost Shannon to her some classes she's taking. I forgot what it's called, but she's taking some classes in Harvard in Boston for a year. So Ruby has taken on that role. So yeah, we're very lucky to have her. She's very busy. And then Christopher Keene, is he here this evening? Our volunteer coordinator? Okay, so maybe he'll be here next meeting. But Christopher is coming in as your coordinator just in time for our busy season in October. And Pam is our outgoing volunteer coordinator back there. She was desperate for a volunteer and we got one. So thank you. Thank you very much. All you've done. It's a lot. She's a very detailed person, so she worked very hard. Okay, so a couple of announcements. Oh, so now's the time that I'd like to introduce someone. She is the community outreach person for the Edwards Flower already, Nikki Young. She'd like to come up and talk to you about this little promotion. Thank you. If you could welcome her, please, to the podium.
Thank you guys much, online and in person. Yes, my name is Young, as in I hope I'll be young forever. Don't we all wish that? Um, but I would like to say thank you guys for welcoming us to be a part of IMSOT. We are lifetime members. We're here for the long haul. We work together, water plants, it all kind of goes together. While we have been in extreme drought, I think we can all say thank you, lots of the water recently, and now we're not out of the drought. There's still a drought, but we are definitely we're back to stage one for the aquifer. So how about that? That's nice, right? Yes. Um, with that, rooted in saving water, we have our photo contest. I got photo contests everywhere, which is great. That means we're all excited to show off all the things that we've learned and all the things that we do. I have to say, I've also taken much out of learning from Lee and from Pam and from all of you. So while I am not at Hill's level, I'm not. I've learned and I really appreciate all that you guys do. And speaking with Ruby earlier, right, this is a great resource and a great organization. Well, so I won't take much more, but photo contest. There's a lot of contests help you decide to show off what your green thumbs and how you are rooted in saving water, all of your drought smart solutions. This one is cash prizes, gift cards in our calendar for next year. So that's a lot of fun. I'm talking to you and talking to you there. So that's important. And then make sure that our plant conflict with your other plant giveaway. Our plant giveaway is October 17th in New Braunfels. It's a drive-through. Hope you'll participate in that and come share with that. And then the last thing is our Edwards permit on October 28th. If you've not already received the save the day, I got it through IMSOT, but if you want to get an invitation, see Haley, see Dan, they'll put you on, or you can contact us through the Edwards Aquifer Authority, and we'll make sure that you're included in all fun festivities. Celebrate water. So thank you guys so much. And real quick, could I get a picture so that yeah. Y'all can act like, oh my gosh, she's so interesting. She's saying something good. And maybe even we'll show how you guys, it shows me speaking, and we'll show you guys that as long as she's maybe okay, so this is what we do in film school. So day is in October or February, March, raise your hand, oh my gosh. Okay, how many people have a birthday in the summer? Raise something interesting, take a photo. Yes, hands raising. Wow, that's good. It shows that I did something. So thank you guys so much. I want to say a little tidbit about Nikki that was kind of interesting. This week was the San Antonio Film Festival, and she was one of the stars of one of the films that was being shown. And I didn't realize it. I was in the audience. I had gone to see a film. It was great, about a local nonprofit called Center Stage for Possibilities. And it is a documentary about a group of adults with special needs that put on some amazing performance. They put on a full play, and the director, I was sitting in the audience, I said, I know her. She had a special talent. She did an amazing job. You have to watch the documentary. It's on their website. It is Center Stage. It's a beautiful documentary. It's really fun to see her do what she loves and work with these adults. She did an amazing job. So it's fun. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you.
It's nice to learn that we have other talents other than native plants, right? Yeah. Thank you, Nikki. Very good information there. And then is this okay. So the NLCP classes for fall will be open for registration on August 3rd. They fill up quickly. Don't make one wants to make that they do fill up quickly. The native landscape for birds at for the 19th, day after my birthday. I'm going to give myself that class. I haven't taken that class myself, so. And then the Intro to Native Landscapes, Level 1 at Sarah headquarters. Okay, that one is October the 24th. So be looking for that to open up on the main page, right? Okay. Let's see what else. Okay, so on this is in the Zoom audience. I have post anything in the chat regarding any of this. I'm just curious. He doesn't need to. This information is there's plentiful information here. We have the Arboretum San Antonio, the invasive species removal, third Saturday of the month from 9 to 11. The 2026 dates are the 15th of August, September the 19th, October 17th, and November the 21st. There is an RSVP for the ability form and liability form. So if you're interested in being trained on how to remove invasive species, and that could be, you know, in your own landscape or places that, you know, you frequent that you notice the invasive species popping up, this is a wonderful opportunity to learn how to do it correctly. Okay. It says there's a schedule invasive species removal 11 and an optional after 11 a nature walk and survey of the next site for invasive removal. Okay. Just want to mention our nice partners, Pollinatives. I think I saw Donald here. Well, there he is. Okay, yes, thank you. Donald is here. And Donald went above and beyond for me personally the other day. I asked him for I needed a certain kind of plant, and he brought 3 of them. I ended up needing 3 from work to his home, sent my son's girlfriend to go and pick them up, and did them for an occasion. So it was kind of a timeline, and Donald really, and I appreciate that, Donald. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm not advertising the service. I'm just thanking you for it. Yeah, that's delivery. Sorry, let's not start something. Okay. Oh, and the nectar bar. I apologize. And the nectar bar. Okay, drink white at the nectar bar. Okay, chapter announcements. Oh, yes, the August social. So it's early. We do not have a meeting in August. It's too hot. There's, you know, we just take that month off. But we are going to try something a little different this time. It is we are not meeting here. Zoom audience, we are not meeting here. It will be at the Cove from 6 to 8 and on Cypress Street. We are asking for RSVP just so you know, kind of get a general head count. Cove has been gracious enough to allow us to rent out an area there, a covered patio area, no charge, at no cost to us. I did kind of promise that landscape and see, you know, what they could do as far as native plants. But they've donated the space to us. So we'd really like to gather there and hang out and talk. Because I know that for those of us who went to Brackenridge, the event that Joan organized that one time, we had a really nice time just walking around and talking to each other. So this is another opportunity to do that. And we'll have a couple of little presentations as well. Okay, next chapter meeting, September 22nd. The topic will be Whole and Wild, the purpose of our option easement. And the presenter is Meetha Haggard. She is a SOT and a great supporter of us. And she's been working very hard at getting a conservation easement established. So, okay, that's September 22nd. And then, oh, and also I believe at that time, she will also be offering to tour her property. So look forward on that. And then, so now we have our speaker. What happened? Did I hit something? Let me turn. There we go. Okay. It wasn't, oh, okay. Didn't crash. It was just me. Okay. So, our presentation tonight is Mike Quinn, Flora and Fauna Biodiversity along the I-35 corridor. Mike, with his degrees in wildlife and entomology from Texas, in and out of Central Texas since 1978, and has studied the ornithology, botany, and entomology of Texas. A popular presenter, as evidenced with his map up here tonight, on a wide range of topics to all levels of audiences since the 80s. And Mike is currently a contributor to iNet. So we're very lucky to have him here. Thanks very much for showing up, Mike. And Todd will try and do the
All right, well, let's
transfer.
our raffle real quick. Want to tell them about that?
Okay. While they're transitioning, Rainbow Gardens is doing a free class on critters Saturday, and they wanted us to just announce that there's a free class on this critters, and I think Joan said she loves these critters. They come 3 different types.
They're
On the Bandera Roast, and they gave us 3 door prices. Bonus. Let me get the share.
August there. I'm gonna do 3 raffle winners here and keep getting involved. The last 2. All right. All right. How about 09? Okay.
I haven't heard of this, but
273.
273.
No. So I'll be 173.
Gone once. I forgot that it each happens to take.
Yes. It looks like a hurricane just started on it.
okay.
So full screen right there, I think. And then we want to do that's yeah.
Okay,
If we
so
can
we just have to see.
get rid of that up there.
We have
All right.
to see if we can get it up here.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oof.
Time. I'm going to make an announcement real quick. I'm the president of the Men's Garden Club. Drake White is going to be speaking for us next month, August 6th at the Garden Center. So she's going to be speaking on fall plant here. So if y'all like to attend first Thursday of the month at the Garden Center, right next to the Botanical Center, to be speaking. So,
Please.
no, it's not. Like 80%.
So we can get up then. So proceed as Susan or the workers and everything that should. So stop share and start it again. So turn this on to.
Yes.
So you're going to stop sharing or start again. So it's not showing up there at all. We're seeing it here. But
And we had that issue earlier.
did you want to?
Where you should entire screen. What happened to that one? This is the screen.
Yeah, this is into the.
Do you think,
Usually that's why we do.
100 we should Zoom and start again? Don't think it's the Zoom. I tried that already. Sorry about this.
No.
I think
it's,
the plug might be faulty. The turns on it for some reason.
Well. Have another plug, but
One of these.
yeah.
Let's try it. The podium.
It was communicating. So
Sorry, guys, we're all seeing it in the room, so we're gonna switch out the cord real quick.
Podium
Podium,
because
okay.
it doesn't reach.
Okay. I've seen it from the laptop before, so I'm not sure if it's a cord issue.
I'm here, but I don't know. So, okay. You could take this to the wall and to get closer. I mean, not sure we need that.
Working on it, so.
Okay, so the wall. All right, I'm gonna need a little more give. Here you go. I think the best thing to do is that I didn't do anything. Is to stop share, maybe go out of Zoom and come back. Use the projector. Needs a projector. Should we tune that on and off?
Yeah, where,
Andrea?
she's on, it's on status. Andrea? Already turned it. How?
Want to thank everyone for and love the energy in your organization. Our butterfly forum is a little bit on life support up in Austin. This is feels great to see this level of energy. I'm going to talk on let me get my watch out so that I can keep track of time. It's going to be despite the initial title, this is going to be a little more cultural and natural history of 35 corridor. And so let's start with a 1775 map of the population in the U.S., the 13 colonies, and that area right there that was started in 1775 is what we to this very day in terms of population density. So this is going to be, and this is a very diverse area biologically. So we're going to see multiple examples of the human population lapping with the biodiversity and bioabundance as well. So this is a learning, Wall Street, Ivy Leagues, Broadway, etc. The political capitals. So this is a center of diversity, and so we're going to be talking about human ecology, term I hadn't heard till lately, but the example of the diversity, the Northeast, Massachusetts has almost half as much or over half as many species in Texas in the upper box there. And yet Texas is 33 times larger than Massachusetts. Now this observed biodiversity. So this is a lot of, absolute biodiversity, all bugs, the old school entomology and all that. But this is observed biodiversity in large data set. This is all arthropods here. So we're going to see this repeated here. This is obviously South Texas, and have family that arrived near Brownsville in 1920, and this is I don't know. I want to do a little pointing, but these porciones ostensibly equal value. So the Rio, which is not a valley, obviously, but delta, you get the water out of the river over the banks, it'll flow downhill. And so you see the parallel narrow tracks there would facilitate irrigating. And then these are ranch sites here. And you see the very large number one there, where you can see up here in the top, that red area, that is the South Texas coastal sand plains. So this is that's where the future King Ranch is today, in that area. And it's a area of sands, high heat, water seeps through. So this is not along the river where you can have more productivity. This is a kind of a low productivity area there. So this early map, that's also circa 1770, is tells us a lot about what we know to this very day. So these early maps of human ecology, human history, human cultural history, map on the biodiversity, and these portions along the Rio Grande, that area has as many species recorded in southmost Texas as Eastern North America combined. So it's a very diverse area. I thought this was the most diverse area state based on my understanding of butterflies, but that's a lot of those are strays and singleton records and such. And so that butterfly myopic perspective isn't a total diversity perspective. Moving forward to just before and after the Civil War, after the Mexican-American War, the U.S. Building forts here in these in the blue, there these pink squares that are the first built in the U.S. or in Texas, and we have up Fort Worth, and then Fort Gates, and El Paso, and Fort Bliss, and El Paso, and Brownsville. So that blue line, I was just found this photo last year or something. So that's, and we're going to see the first forts. We can predict what's coming next in that region. And so as of 1870, 50 years later or so, we're getting the cattle drive through the Civil War, and they're coming right up through central Texas. And so this is high productivity for forage for cows, longhorns that went up to the rail yards in Kansas and even further north, and then eventually to the stockyards in Chicago there. And then when the rest came, again, were there some of the main railroads going up the main corridor there, the Missouri, Texas, or the MKT or the Katy. If you're familiar with the Katy Highway, 28 lanes wide, just out of east side of Houston. Katy is from Missouri, Kansas, Texas. And then we dodged a bullet here. We didn't get the Trans-Texas Corridor Perry was promoting there. Whoops. All right. So I'm going to talk a lot about the plains And this is a region that's so valuable, didn't set aside any parkland for it, hardly there. So it's, prime, the breadbasket of the world, if you will, certainly US. So that's kind of, the diversity there. Let's have a park, we can't, that's, those prime farmland, but it's not all super diverse in terms of people and plants and insects and such. The high plains are called Llano Estacado in the high plains of Texas. This is there is a decreasing population in just one calendar year. The darkest red, orange square, 3% or more loss in population. So we're going to visit that modern map in a minute here. This is a famous road in the Oklahoma Panhandle. I think it was Cimarron County, the west county in Oklahoma. This is, I think, Bob, which we're not so familiar with, but if you live in Lubbock, further west, there's ginormous sandstorms, dust storms. So this was, even though this was in April times, this wasn't a day-to-day thing. This was the photo here that's entering the Great Depression Works Project Act touch. So we're going to see some of that elliptical area again. So the concentration of people and diversity itself around the world. And so we can look at Mexico and the distribution of native maize species. You can see the concentration through the middle of the country there. And corn, most important of the three, squash, and help me out. Beans. Thank you. Oh, Lord. So here you can see a population map, and half the Mexico's population is between those two lines there. And that yellow ellipse there, that's basically where the monarch overwintering colonies are. So that's right next to the hyper populated Mexico City area. So I don't think that's an accident or a fluke. The monarchs that spread throughout North America come to this place that the people come to as well. So the human ecology is mixing with the, what we normally just think of as ecology and such. So let's look at the ecoregions here for a minute. If we're familiar with the Texas ecoregions, it's a map in every wildlife management type office around the state. But if you expand it out, there's a lot of ecoregions there. There's 45, and there's different levels to these ecoregions. These are level 3 ecoregions. And I jokingly say it's the Oprah level ecoregions. You get an ecoregion, you get an ecoregion. So these are the, in black squares are the counties with the highest observed diversity per iNaturalist there. And so we got the Metroplex, Travis, Williamson, Bear, Hidalgo, and Harris County. And if you try to understand it in terms of the Texas ecoregions, there's no rhyme or reason, right? It's, there's some up there cross timbers, and, we got the palm-leaf and thorn scrub and the coastal plains there, coastal prairie marches. So, but if we look at it at a different scale, before we get to that, the Occam razor, people heard that term. The simplest solution or the simplest explanation is likely the correct explanation. So if you get too many crayons, it muddies the picture a little bit. So that's my analogy there. But this Occam's razor, he was in Europe after the printing press was developed. So that might be why he got credit for it. But that principle, the simplest solution, goes back to Ptolemy and probably even earlier, so thousands of years back. So if we look at the ecoregions on a coarser scale, we got the eastern deciduous forest or temperate forest, the Great Plains, and then the deserts. There's actually a pattern there that is stands out. And so now all of the hyper diverse in terms of observed diversity counties are on the southeastern part of the Great Plains. And you fooled me, but Harris County is part of the Great Plains at this level 1 ecoregion. So I think that's kind of something I think I'm first to kind of point out there. So these ecoregions at the core scale we're talking about are not rain dependent. I mean, there's a rain component to them, but if you look at the precipitation there in the colors of in the box here, it doesn't line up with the border of the ecoregion. So the ecoregions are mostly soil based, and you can see there's a lot of different soils there as well. So you can go very fine, half your house could be, Blackland Prairie and half, hill country and whatnot. So, but it's largely soil based there. So this is kind of in central part of the U.S. This is where I'm seeing the greatest diversity here. There's tremendous diversity in the metro or whatever the corridor in Boston to DC, and then there's more diversity coastal South Texas or California and such. But in terms of U.S. dipping down into Mexico a bit, that's the sweet spot for our area. And so hear a lot about large language models. Let's look at some large number models. And so this is the population, or excuse me, the number of iNaturalists that are observing per county. And the blue is the number of observed species. So there's almost no difference in the observed species. The blue line is almost flat. And then the number of observers per county is all over the place. So no matter how many or how few observers, we're arriving at this line of 5,000 species, observed species. And so this is I think this is all arthropods, I think is maybe, I'm not sure if plants are in that one or not. So here's another one that's crazy. We got Williamson County on the far end, 700,000 folks. And then Harris County, 5 million folks. And there's not an impact on the number of observed arthropod species. So, I grew up, I remember the first Earth Day, and I would have never, people bad, they're, oh my gosh, who wants to live in Houston? But they have the same number of species observed as Williamson County with, I think it's like a fifth of the population or more than like a seventh of the population. So that's I think new to most of us. So observed on this axis and population over there. All right. So the reason I think these numbers are true is that the lower lines are all different orders: Lepidoptera, Coleoptera, Hemiptera, Hymenoptera, Diptera, and they're so parallel that it lends credence to the veracity of the number of species observed. And then the top line is the vascular plants. And you would think the vascular plants would be correlated with the insects, because about roughly half the insects are plant feeding phytophagous, and the other half are predaceous or parasitoids or detritivores or different. But there's not really much correlation between plant diversity and insect diversity observed. And so I tried to come up with explanations for the high end there in Harris County, and I think it's they get so much rain there, 50 inches on average a year, unfathomable to amount of rain to us here in Central Texas, or to me anyway. But that rain degrades the soil or the nutrients in the soil, and so the plants actually have lower nutritional value with the higher rainfall. So that would could be the plants love the rain, so we got more plants, but the plants are not as good as insect food. So I think I'm pretty firm ground there. Over here, Rio Grande Valley, that's harder to explain. But a lot of lagoons down there that and the LEPs are going up when the plants are going down. That's very counterintuitive, given that all Lepidoptera, almost all, feed on plants. So I don't have time to speculate too much on the Hidalgo County, but that's just very interesting. There's a large data set. I think it's all arthropods. Or of these orders. There are other orders, but these are the main orders of arthropods there. All right, so this is something that really resonated with me when I came across this, the 80-20 rule. And Pareto was an Italian polymath, early 20th century, and he observed that half the people in Italy, 20% of the people in Italy owned 80% of the land. So there wasn't equality there. And we see that repeated over and over. And in terms of biodiversity, 20% of the species generally, these numbers are not truly 20/80, but they're close. Rule of thumb. You can have 30% can, represent 70%. It doesn't even have to equal 100 is what I'm trying to say. But in terms of diversity, 20% of the species can represent 80% of the biomass. So, this is kind of in comic font here, but you can see if it was just plants, which it's not, but if this was just plants, the 20% could be the disturbance area plants that are prolific in disturbed areas, which most of the U.S. is, and these here on the end could be like old growth. So there's so many different ways of looking at this. Does everyone understand horses versus zebras? That expression. If you hear hoof beats in the alley at night, it's most likely to be a horse here and not a zebra. It could be a zebra. It's most likely. So the common species are horses, and these rare ones here on the end are zebras. Or we can look at this as biomass, the common species, and then this is biodiversity, the singletons and the rare ones that we love to go see, and the birders get on airplanes and fly to see a new U.S. record and such. I kind of call these here on the end, species in waiting, in terms of they're waiting for the conditions to be favorable to them, and then they can proliferate. Whereas so all kinds of ways to look at that. So I went to Kansas when I started Parks and Wildlife, and 1920 or 2000. This is Chip Taylor. Everyone gets on a bus. We go look at a unplowed prairie. He pulls up common milkweed from the right of way, and he says this is a rare plant in an unplowed prairie. This is a disturbance area plant. So the plowing of the prairies benefited the monarch. So before John Deere, monarch was much, much, much rarer than it is to this day. So, and we can see this here quite literally. I don't know if folks are familiar with M Grand Viewer. This is kind of a not too obscure, but Google has scanned almost all printed material, and this is doing a search for the frequency of steel plow and a search for the frequency of common milkweed. And John Deere invents the steel plow in 1837, and it's all anyone could talk about. Before the steel plow, it was cast iron that didn't move through the prairie very much. And so when the prairie started being plowed under, then only at that point did common milkweed become common. Before the John Deere, common milk, you wouldn't ever call that common milkweed. So, and during World War II, we were making the life preservers out of the down from the milkweed. So that's why a lot more common milkweed came back into the printed materials there. So, all right. So now, these are the most commonly observed plants in the U.S., and milkweed's there, number 4. Now that's not likely the 4th most common plant. People are hyper focused on monarchs and milkweed. So, anytime they see it, oh, I got to photograph that. But this is 31,000 species and 60 million observations. So common milkweed is still fairly common. It's even been observed more than mullein and clover and dandelions and creosote. But, obviously you see a field of creosote, you're not going to photograph each one the way you might photograph every milkweed or something. So, you got to not take all the data total face value. So, and here's a case in point, the number of observations of common milkweed are going up year over year, but the milkweed is probably not becoming more common that way. And most commonly observed arthropod in all of the U.S., monarch was number 1 in January of this year, and 50,000 species were identified and 34.5 million observations. And so we can push the numbers, artificially inflate them a little bit, but it's the rarest insect out there, given that there's 50,000 that are observed. All right, so go back to the large language model. Another quick look at some the Google Ngram viewer frequency in printed materials. And so biomass came about, or biodiversity came about, which was started with E.O. Wilson largely. There was a conference in D.C., and then there's the publication of the notes from the conference, and then he went wild with his biodiversity books, the popular version. The notes from the conference, it was very much doom and gloom. So the green there on the Endangered Species Act, the EPA, Earth Day, and on the far end, Silent Spring kind of started us on a environmental awareness time. And here's all the different, this is just the covers in English for E.O. Wilson's Diversity of Life. The top one up there is the conference notes there. Don't get that one unless you want to get real depressed. But all these others are the cool parts of biodiversity. The conference was, oh my gosh, the sky is falling and, we're losing diversity and all of this stuff. I was noticed that the endangered species isn't being used in printed material as much as it once was. And so I started looking at other aspects of the Endangered Species Endangered Species Act, Clean Water Act, NEPA, the National Environmental Protection Act, Clean Air Act. They're all declining in printed usage, which correlates with decline in usage in law and such of these acts. And so the pendulum is swinging back here. And I don't see it swinging the other way again. These red circles are starting in 1990 was a spotted owl and rise of Fox News, dare I say. So there's some, and then the last one, 9/11. So America kind of turned its focus away from the protecting the wildlife and trying to protect the people there. So this is the good news, countering some of that. The explosion in observed data, biodiversity, and it's hard to discern from this a bit, but the 3.8 billion observations are about 2 billion of those are birds. So the birders are really at the forefront of observation data, and partly because if you see a 1,000 geese or 1,000 sandhill cranes, you can enter 1,000. But if you take a picture with iNat, that's a 1. So there's a bit disparity there that iNat and hasn't really addressed. But iNat started 2008 and Bug Guide in there, but eBird is, and they're growing 20% year over year. So that's a little bird-centric inflated there, but still we see it in other data. And I just want to focus on this lower graph here, and that's the new edition of taxa. I don't know if we can get that off the screen there at the top, but it's new taxa added to the iNaturalist. And so you can see that it peaked there in this, thank you. So the upper graph is the inset on the lower graph that's grayed here on the right. And so the peak was just 7 years ago, 2019. And so we're on the downside of adding new taxa to iNaturalist. And if you think back to the 2080 rule, just having 20% of the species, you already captured 80% of the observations in biodiversity. And so the common species are doing the ecological work, right? And these rare singletons, they're great to see and observe and such, but they're not driving the ecosystem. Generally speaking, you can have exceptions with a apex predator can change a environment, or so there are exceptions to that, but the common species are generally driving the ecosystem there. So all right, and so it just took 8 years to peak, and now we're on the the downside of adding new species. This is Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. So we're down to 1,400 new species per month, and that was in 2024. So we're even, maybe 1,000 species per month are being added, and that'll continue. That won't come to zero there. So let's talk a little more about biodiversity versus biomass. The bison, buffalo, it was reduced down to 200 estimated animals at Yellowstone and 550 up in Wood Buffalo National Park. And Wood Buffalo is, of course, where the whooping cranes nest, so that when they finally found where the whooping cranes were, it was already a protected park there. That's one of the largest parks. There's like the largest beaver nest in the world in Wood Buffalo. You can see it from space and such. So that's a very special place. And so the trains coming through, kind of a little bit of the death knell of the bison, though we have them still. But a lot of that that was harvested came to Chicago, and of course we have replaced the buffalo with cattle these days. So this is a insect that was maybe one of the most common insects on the planet. Estimated maybe 3.5 trillion in these swarms that came up about every year. You can see some of the dates of swarms outbreaks there. And so if we look at the colors here, the red in the middle, that's even back in 1870s, that was sparsely populated. So we see that to this day. That's where the Dust Bowl was and all of that, the Hispano Estacado. That's, low diversity, low people and such. But so the green areas are suffered the most because that's where the people were that were suffering from their crops being eaten. And you can see some green there in Denver. So that's the Front Range, which is area of diversity of people and plants and animals and such. So even this map here from 1700s or late 1800s is instructive on where people were settling and such. And this was probably the first electronic biodiversity survey, if you will, because it was conducted through telegraph, asking people at every telegraph station, how many are you seeing? A lot of grasshoppers, basically, something along those lines. So this was pretty well studied here. And and this species is blinked out on its own with we've started plowing in there, and that apparently was a contributing factor, but this species of 3 trillion, it doesn't exist anymore. So good. So this is this is what pumpkin, right? This is what we think of a pumpkin. These even look a little on the large side, very healthy pumpkins. This is a real pumpkin, right? This is Alaska, and this gentleman broke his previous record of pumpkin size. So this is Alaska, which has obviously long daylight periods in the summer. And so that biomass there triggers a lot of birds to migrate from the tropics where there's biodiversity. They go up to where the biomass is, up in the Arctic, from Nome to Churchill there. And then they put radio trackers, geotrackers, geolocator on the large number of birds, and they spent almost a month fattening up on the East Coast here before flying 2.5 days nonstop across open water to get back to the biodiversity. So the tropics, you have your wet season, your dry season, and every day is 12 hours of sunlight and 12 hours of darkness. So a lot of advantages to breeding in the far north, long day periods, and so you get large pumpkins and lots of corresponding biodiversity along the same lines. And the sun isn't a Texas sun up there in Alaska. It would fry everything. It's a lot of overcast days. Every time I see a movie from even the northeastern US, it's always overcast. If you'd notice that outside. So very different from our local weather here. So here's another long distance migrant from Alaska over there. Then it comes back down. The blue in the middle is the overwintering grounds. And where does it overwinter? It overwinters in our yellow to black map in the green zones, the savanna and essentially woodlands area, not in the black, the rainforest, the hyper-diverse area. So the bird that spans the northern hemisphere and nesting, it comes down to the woodlands and such. So this is corresponds to our own diversity here in Central Texas. Bracken Cave, I don't need to tell anyone here about any of that, I don't think. But if Bracken Ridge gets so much press that we forget about the other caves sometimes in the area. So this is the 10 largest known bat colonies or roosts per Smithsonian Magazine. And 7 are in Texas. Whoops. And, oh dear. 7 are in Texas, and 6 of those are hill country. And I might have banged the wrong thing there. But one of them's in Houston. The others are in, okay, let's see if we can get back here. So I think it's a kind of a quick fix here.
We need this one.
Cancel. I'm here and down. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. All right, perfect. Now let's go to full screen. Let's go to full screen again. Boom, boom. All right. So these are Devil Sinkhole, Eckhart James, Old Tunnel, and Frio Bat Cave, Bracken Cave. And so this is satellite or radar images. Del Rio, the black hole in the middle above where it says Del Rio, that's the center of the that radar station. The New Braunfels radar, you can see the black hole next to B for Bracken Cave. So there's Congress Avenue, Longhorn, Eckhart James, Devil's River, Frio. So this whole area, it's, if you look at the BCI, Bat Conservation International, their literature says, oh, the bats are saving the farmers from the corn earworm. But these insectivorous insects are insectivorous bats, mammals are feeding on a wide variety of insects. And there's not a lot of studies of what they actually eat, but this was a study from Sacramento Valley. And again, even in the title of their summation, it says bats feed on crop pests. But if you, through time here, they start out heavy on midges. The only thing missing here is a study of what was available to them instead of what is actually what they pooped out. They looked in the bat droppings. But in the August to September, that's when the pups are out. So that's when the population doubles, and that's when the need for more insects increases. And that's where they're feeding on the more wider diversity of insects there. But moths are indeed probably the largest aspect there. I'm supposed to be finishing up here shortly. So the yet another aspect, this is a what I call a speciation corridor. And these are endemic plants that take a little explaining to explain exactly what's going on there. There's not plants. There's not 76 plants that are only in Travis County, but they range into Travis County, and they're not any kind of a global thing. So they have limited ranges, but they extend beyond these counties here. So here's a flightless beetle that's a good indicator of speciation. You can see the different colors, 8 different species, and they're all right here through the central southern plains. The Arecia, even subterranean diversity here is great. There's 3 species out west and 3 species up north, and then 9 species from Travis to Bexar County there. These are all ostensibly different species of this one genus of spiders, is more subterranean diversity that somehow they picked 4, I don't know, out of a hat or what, that were endangered, when there's 60 that are like globally known from one cave each. So the plants here, obviously, the ash juniper is a sister species to Juniperus virginiana. The Quercus fusiformis, sister species of Quercus virginiana. So we're getting a lot of plants that are right here in this region, and this is beetles and any group of insects. You'll see the same pattern. The golden cheek warbler is a sister species to the black-throated green warbler, which nests throughout eastern U.S. And so this is some data for my thesis. So this is harder, constant, quantitative data, and they changed the taxonomy in the middle of my thesis. So I got some of the old Quercus texana versus Quercus bucklei and Virginiana versus fusiformis. But what this shows is the green tree species are the species with the most insects for that time period. So it's a succession of trees providing the maximum arthropod abundance. And then across the top, A is warbler arrives, E is eggs, Y is when the young nestlings or fledglings, and D, they start departing, and the G, they're gone. So they arrive and depart in that peak area that our temperate system produces. The juniper, these are caterpillars. Caterpillars are primary food source for all songbirds, and the the young, between young and depart, that's where the caterpillars are mostly on the juniper. So juniper is a keystone species that we would love for a lion or a tiger or leopard to be our keystone species. Juniper is our keystone species here. So the most common caterpillar that feeds on juniper is juniper budworm, and again, it's in the when the young are out. So the mother, ideally they generally have 4 young, so they go from 2 to 4. It's quite the bump up in numbers of birds. And after the caterpillars all pupate and become adults, at food, so the bats are feeding on the adult juniper budworm. So the juniper is still a keystone species, not only for the warbler, but also the free-tailed bat. And you can see the peak in abundance for that moth species in August, September, October. That's when bats have their pups. And so that's when their population doubles, and so they need more food. And so this one species provides is a cornerstone for the whole ecosystem. And you get observations there, and there's some observations back up there from DC to such. But these in our area, they feed on juniper, sassia, and those are obviously, I assume, on Virginiana. So the more evidence of the importance of juniper. This is all arthropods by these 2 years of my study. The 93 was a wet year, higher abundance, 93, 4 was a dry year. And so the number of total arthropods decreased significantly on the 2 oak species and the elm, but juniper was not significantly different. It did go down a little bit, but it still held the line through the what was your basic drought year, which happens quite frequently. So juniper again holding the line, and it's not perfect because the caterpillars still decreased. That dry year was a hard year for caterpillars there, but the young to depart, most of those were on the juniper there. So, all right. So I call it the biodiversity corridor or biocorridor in terms of, there's not really a name for this thing, but I'll kind of going with biocorridor. Early observational data. Hey, all the monarchs come through west of I-35. That's fascinating. And then very recently, last year or two, they were able to produce a radio tracking for a monarch that doesn't have a battery. It has a solar panel there that it produces data from. And that data shows, see these 3 up here in the Northeast? Say it with me. They weren't born here, but they got here as soon as they could. And not only did they get here as soon as they could, they're on the west side of I-35. These are the first ones to arrive at the overwintering ground. So if you take all the ones that have been radio tracked, the data isn't quite that clean. But these first ones that were, did it the right way, the fastest, the most ecologically efficient way, came down through the west side of I-35. And so other species that have large populations, obviously the snouts, say it with me. Red katydids. This is a outbreak in 2007 was the red counties, and the far graph on the bottom shows that some years can be almost none, and then you can have a tremendous year just a few years later. And I love that about insects, that a low year is not, the sky is falling. It's just a low year. This species, and I am getting to the end here, I think. If you saw that, you would definitely want to photograph that. And so it's been photographed all the way up there in Manitoba once. But in Texas, there's 1,000 observations. And then there's probably definitely hundreds more. So again, that concentration, this insect feeds on plants, Monarda, and it's throughout the plains, but it's hyper concentrated in our area here. This is a fascinating, similar, related genus of beetle that was, these are like singletons in the inset here for 50 years or so. And then it gets to the hill country and the population goes through the roof. And by through the roof, I mean, it just explodes in population. So this, we're not totally sure if this is a native to Eastern US. If it was native to the Southeastern US with those singleton records that were there for 20 years, why didn't it come over here before? So this might have come in through like Mobile, Alabama, the way the fire ant did, and hung around, and it may be at a low level somewhere elsewhere in the world where it's flying under the radar as singletons and such. But it gets here to the hill country and it explodes in population. You can see the growth from 2012, 17, and then 2023 when it really takes off here in central Texas. Everyone knows this insect, dung beetle. And then if you look at the global distribution of observations, the highest number are concentrated in central lower Southern Great Plains. This could be some observational bias there. I'll grant you that. Another species, this one feeds. So we had plant feeding. We started with plant feeding beetles, and we went to dung feeders, pollen feeders, and we're seeing the same thing now. Obviously, there's many species, many different distributions, but these correlate to the abundance and the reason why we free-tailed bats and why we have golden cheek warbler that's just here in this range. The detritivore here, again, throughout the Great Plains, concentrated in Texas. This is a predaceous beetle. It's all the way to South Carolina and north to Nebraska, concentrated central. This red-streaked leafhopper, it's invasive species here in the U.S., but it's here and a lot feeds on KR bluestem a lot. And there's a study here in San Antonio that we don't have time to review, but they're here now. End on pool beetle, Texas beetle. But it ranges all the way to almost to San Francisco. Again, you see that concentration here. So really fascinating stuff. And I want to give a shout out to this last Ed. Everything I'm telling you, I've learned about beetles through Ed. So I'm imparting a lot of Ed Riley knowledge to everyone. But I'm kind of he's not an iNatter at all, but I send them things to help me identify what they are. But I'm looking at this data and I'm loving it. And it's voluminous. And when I worked in the monarch early in my career, a lot of observational data. And so you have to put it all in place and in perspective and such. And the volume of data is just, eclipses what we had with monarchs and such. So thank you so much for coming. If anybody has any questions. Bye.
It's amazing. That was amazing. Thank you very much, Mike, for that very informative presentation. We learned a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Yes, give him a round of applause. I'm really interested in this picture. I want to know what's in all of those boxes. So
Lady beetles.
Lady beetles. Okay. Okay, so we have questions, a couple of questions.
Yes, sir. So, yes, sir.
Percentage of iNaturalist observers account for 90% of observations.
It's I think the statistic I've seen along those lines, I think 1% of observers account for 60% of the observations, and 20%, 1%, 20. All right. Well, there's those numbers may fluctuate a little bit, but yeah, that's the people in this room are, probably some of the greatest contributors of data in Travis, Bexar County. And so this, small cadre, we're contributing a lot to science here.
Like if you could repeat the questions.
So the question was, thank you. What percentage of iNaturalist observers produce what percentage of the observations? And I thought it was 1% provided 60, but I think I was maybe
By 60.
oh, okay, I was correct. What's
20%.
okay, 20% of the iNaturalist observers provide 90% of the observations. So those you see that in so many aspects of anything you're studying. You study a volume of something, words in a book. They're the common ones and then the uncommon ones and such. So any other questions? Anything from the chat online? Okay.
Because of density of people making observations in cities and also the City Nature Challenge, but I think you ended up talking about that.
I'm going to give this version of this at the Waco Master Naturalist, and I'll fill in the reason why I think the data are even a little bit strong that hold up. And it's based on flightless beetles, like the ironclad beetle is. If you saw an ironclad beetle, oh my God, let me photograph that puppy. But it's in the Metroplex, but it's not throughout Dallas. It's like from Tarrant County west and not so much in northeastern Dallas County, even though there's 1 million people there. So, and I have another flightless beetle example in Houston that's just like half of the Harris County, even though the people are evenly distributed there. So, yeah, it's I want A&M to do a quantitative study, a survey through a cross section of the I-35 corridor and then up and down the corridor as well. But A&M they're doing surveys along the border where all those cool tropical insects are, they think. And so they're not really dialed in on the I-35 corridor the way I am. Yes, sir.
You implied that there's recovering insects following dry years and stuff. Is there data, that solid quantitative data that show that this response that is consistent over a long time, or does that need to be gathered in terms of showing that there's recovery and not lost like in drier and drier climates? Is there any data that really shows that?
Well, yeah. Is there data showing that dry years followed by wet years are true recoveries? Is that what you're saying? Well, my data was quantitative, shows effect of wet year, dry year. I don't have the following wet year again data, but Dr. Gilbert at UT studied the snout bug and the outbreaks that we see here across South Texas follow a drought followed by record rain, summer rains breaking the drought that induce the plant, the spiny hackberry, to put on new leaves, and the females lay eggs. And so the drought knocks out the predators of the snout pillars. And so there's a high survivorship of the caterpillars following these widespread rains. And so there are data, not all of it's hard quantitative data, but there's, I think, if you go to the history of iNaturalist above the abundance through time for all years, if you hit the history tab at the top of that abundance through time, it'll show you the abundance year by year and month by month even. So you can see that insects come and go, and you can see that in the red katydid there. There was like 2 years ago, there was almost none. And then 2 years later, it was highest ever in the iNat history there. So I'll be around if anybody wants to ask more questions. Thank you so much.
Very time. Okay, just a couple of quick announcements. Do you need something, Mike? Okay, a couple of quick announcements. Donald from Pollinatives over there with me. He's also in charge of the grants, the grant program we have in NIPSOT. So our chapters, grant lines, the deadline to apply is August the 20th. And if you're not familiar with grant program, we offer micro grants of $50 for personal, like yard grants, landscapes, front or backyard. But he mentioned that it was probably easier to get it approved if it's something that's very visible front yard, And then up to $500 for areas that are a little bit more regular and public viewed. Okay. And I just want to emphasize one time that Donald did a favor for me. And mentioned it might, we should probably, that if you apply to volunteer for a board position, you might also do that. the privilege of having the home delivery. So think about it. Texas Botany. Okay, so the plants by donation table, he also brought in some Texas Botany. Okay, so we have Botany, and I think there's a couple of more seeds over there. So a lot of generous people brought in some plants tonight. And I think that's about it. Are there any other announcements? We gave away all of the gifts from okay, so that's it. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, go ahead. Oh,
It's called garden wrap. Wrap cutting plant that you
all right. Yeah.
can Sunday free. $10.
Okay, so that's at the Nacogdoches. I'm sorry. Why did I say Nacogdoches? Okay, Thousand Oaks, Rainbow Gardens. Okay, great. Thank you. Yes. Yes, there are flyers detailing the photo contest that Nikki Young talked about up here. All right, that is it. Thank you very much. Drive safely. Bye-bye. Hope to see you all in August at the coast.